Hi, love, and welcome back to Metamorphosis, a healing journey. It's your favorite host, Tyra Wright. Today's episode is layered. Sometimes healing isn't about reconciliation. Sometimes healing is simply reaching a place where the pain is no longer controls you. Today, we're talking about what happens when years pass and the person you once built a life with becomes a complete stranger. This episode is for the women who co-parented alone, the women who carried the emotional weight, the women who stopped begging people to show up, and the women who finally realized closure doesn't always come through conversation. Sometimes closure comes through acceptance. Some of you may ask, where do I stand now with the person I shared children with 21 years later? So here's the truth. The person I had children with has been apart from me for almost 21 years. 21. That's enough time for entire lives to change. And people always assume that after that much time, there must still be anger. And honestly, no, I don't hate him. And no, I don't blame him. And I think that surprises people because society expects women to stay bitter forever when someone fails them. Healing changed my perspective. We were young people trying to figure life out while raising children before we fully understood ourselves. And if I'm being honest, we were both carrying our own childhood wounds too. That's something I touched on in episode 22 when I talked about fatherlessness and losing my dad so young. And then in episode 23 and 24, I talked about how cycles repeat themselves, how people sometimes become what hurt them. And unfortunately, the man I had children with became absent the same way his father was absent with him. That doesn't excuse it. And understand something and excusing something are two different things. Healing teaches you that. One thing nobody tells you about healing is this. Eventually, the anger gets heavy, not because the pain wasn't valid, but because carrying resentment for decades becomes exhausting. And at some point, I realized something. Me staying angry wasn't changing his choices. It wasn't making him show up. It wasn't healing my daughters. It wasn't healing me. So I had to let it go. Not for him, but for me. Bitterness can quietly become your personality if you're not careful. And I didn't want to become hardened. I wanted peace. Now let me be very clear. Forgiveness does not mean excess. That's a lesson people struggle with. Just because I no longer hate someone does not mean I owe them closeness. And honestly, we don't even speak at all. No communication. Even if we were in the same room. And funny enough, I think we've only been in the same room maybe twice in the last 7 years. That's how disconnected our lives became. And some people may think that's awkward, but honestly, it feels natural now. No anger, no emotional attachment, no desire to reconnect, just distance. And sometimes distance is the healthiest thing two people can give each other. Now, I will say that my daughters process fatherlessness differently. This is the part that really gets complicated. Children don't process abandonment the same way, and watching your children respond differently can be heartbreaking. My youngest daughter still tries to build a relationship with her father, and I use the word try very lightly. Because sometimes children keep reaching for love even when the door keeps half opening and half closing. And honestly, I think that's normal. Children naturally want connection with their parents, especially daughters. A daughter wanting her father love is one of the most natural things in the world. And when that love feels inconsistent, sometimes they spend years chasing answers, choosing chasing validation, chasing closelessness, and trying to prove they're lovable enough to stay for. That can later show up in dating. It can also show up in friendships, people pleasing, attachment issues, and fear of abandonment. Sometimes father wounds don't disappear, they just change forms. And then there's my oldest daughter. She's different. She's decided she's okay with him for now. Maybe that changes one day, and maybe it doesn't. But in my personal opinion, I think fatherlessness shaped her differently. I think she became overly independent because of it. And woo, let's talk about that. The I don't need anybody daughter. Some people praise overly independent women all the time, but sometimes hyper independence is actually survival mode dressed up as strength. So let's be honest. Some women become strong because they had no choice. Some girls learn early, don't expect help, don't expect consistency, don't expect protection, don't expect emotional safety, so they stop needing people altogether, or at least they pretend to. And I think a lot of fatherless daughters become women who struggle to rely on people because relying on someone once led to disappointment. So now they overwork, overachieve, handle everything alone, struggle being with vulnerability, and secretly fear being a burden. And what society applauds it? Wow, she's so independent. But sometimes that independence was born from emotional survival, not peace. That's why healing matters, because healing teaches you the difference between strength and emotional isolation. One thing I'm proud of is this: I never taught my daughters to hate their father. And trust me, there were moments I could have. Moments I probably had every right to. But I understood something important. Children deserve the freedom to form their own opinions. And I also knew firsthand what bitterness inside a household can do to children emotionally. So instead of filling them with hate, I focused on survival, on providing, on loving them the best I could with what I had at the time. And I was not perfect. Absolutely not. But I showed up consistently, and consistency matters more than perfection. That's something single mothers rarely hear enough. Children remember who stayed, who listened, who sacrificed, who kept showing up, even tired, even struggling, even emotionally overwhelmed. Now, before I say this next statement, let me be very clear. The moment I left their dad, I never wanted him back. But I do think the younger me thought healing meant everybody eventually comes back together to co-parent healthily. Like one big emotional movie scene. Everybody apologizes, everybody cries, everybody becomes a family again. But real life doesn't always work that way. Sometimes healing simply becomes, I no longer carry rage towards you. That's it. And honestly, that's enough. Some people are meant to teach lessons, and some relationships exist to create chapters, not lifelong connections. And I think that's what this became: a chapter, an important one, a painful one, a life changing one, but still a chapter. Not my whole story, and definitely not the ending. So, if you're listening today and you're carrying resentment towards someone who hurt you years ago, I want you to know this: you don't have to hate someone forever to honor your pain. You can let go emotionally and still keep your boundaries. You can forgive and still choose distance. You can heal and still acknowledge what happened hurt deeply. And if you're a daughter who grew up without a father, I want you to know your worth was never determined by someone else's inability to show up. Their absence was a reflection of them, not your value. And if you're a mother trying to hold everything together while your children process abandonment differently, give yourself grace. Because there is no perfect manual for navigating this. You're learning to, one day at a time, one healing choice at a time, one boundary at a time, and one deep breath at a time. Now, thank you for spending this time with me today, love. This was episode 25 of Metamorphosis, a Healing Journey. If this episode touched you in any way, share it with someone who may need this conversation. And remember, healing doesn't always reconnect people. Sometimes it simply frees you. Until next time, love, keep growing, keep healing, and keep choosing yourself. Bye.